Hi, everyone. Welcome to God Talk. This is Thursday, March 12th, and we are going to be talking about the Paralympics. And we'll start out with our usual introductions, um, our name, pronouns, and the answer to the question. If Jared is going to bring us the question.
Yes. Okay, everybody. Hi, my name is Jared. My pronouns are any and all. And today's question is what is your favorite chip? For me, my favorite chip is literally any like we're talking chips of any variety. We're talking just any like dehydrated vegetable. You just throw anything in in like a little in the what is it, the little fryer, air fryer, yeah, and literally anything in the air fryer. It's so good. It's so good. Throw it, whether it's a mushroom or anything.
Hi everybody, my name is Leo, pronouns he, him. Uh, my favorite chips now that Cheetos finally removed the cancerous coloring is the new cheddar cheese Cheetos.
Mhm.
Wow, I didn't know there was some new ones with um yeah, that's wonderful.
Mhm.
I'm Carol, she, her, um and hi from Marco long distance. And um I just got a bag of Terra chips, which I don't buy very often because they're more expensive. But gosh, I love Terra chips. Like the original ones with the taro and the beet. I mean, not beet, parsnip, and yeah, they're those are my favorite. Okay, George.
Hi, I'm George, and you call me anything. Wow, I like anything that's salty and crunchy, but I like piggy pops. You guys know what piggy pops are? Where I come from, they're called piggy pops. They're called, what are they called down here? Um, chim something. Anyway, and I like Pringles. Keep it easy.
Okay, Kreger.
He, they, and my favorite chip is the potato chip, but I just absolutely, they're just horrible for my health. So I really only eat them if Paul and I are driving somewhere like to Houston. And if he pulls over at a gas station and I say, I've got to go pee, which is true, but I'm going to stop. I'm going to get a bag of potato chips when I'm in the convenience store. So I'm just going to have a little taste, and then I go back to my regular routine.
Nice. Okay, Suzette, you're muted.
Hi, I'm Suzette, she, her, and I love plantain chips. Those are so good. And I don't know how bad they are for you because I've never like really read the ingredients and gotten the nutritional value on them, but I love them. I love them. I love them. I love them.
Well, since plantains are healthier than plain potatoes, I bet they're better for you. So that's what, yeah, those are delicious. You're right. All right. Okay, so um we've been the Paralympics started last week, I believe it was, and oh my gosh, when I watched those opening ceremonies, um I was just bawling. They were so beautiful. So we've got a little clip. It doesn't encompass just everything that was on the opening ceremonies, but it'll give you just a little bit of a taste. So let's see if I can do this. Can you see it?
Mhm.
Okay.
So the Italian artist, pianist, composer, and producer Dardust getting ready to perform this segment. First, we think it looks inaccessible, but what was inaccessible will become accessible. Let's watch. Demonstrates that by joining forces, we can reshape space and rethink the concept of disability, overcoming limitations.
Is there sound on this, Carol?
You can't hear it?
Mm-mm.
At the
If-
beginning, there was sound, but I don't
Yeah,
think sound now.
that's okay.
It's almost over the clip. I can hear it on my end. I don't know how to.
It's a setting when you start this share screen.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry that wasn't I didn't get the sound, but I would encourage y'all to watch the opening ceremonies if you get a chance. But there was just so much um inclusion and demonstration of inclusion. Like in that clip, it really showed, I think, the how they were pushing against a wall, but then when they all got together, they all made it happen. Where the wheelchair could get there, where everybody could get there, and just made it happen together. And so I think that's one of the points. And all of the opening ceremonies, I think, were just beautiful in how they included like musicians uh like there was a drummer with with just born without full arms, and there was a deaf dancer, and there was a choreographer dancer um I'm not sure what the disability was, but was not able to walk. It looked like maybe osteogenesis imperfecta, and and there were multiple dancers in wheelchairs, and they created this beautiful black and white picture of um, of moving in space that just changed your whole concept of how we all just move through space. There was also a cellist who was not only in a wheelchair but also on a respirator, and um, just just it wasn't just the inclusion in the program, but it was just the concept of inclusion that was throughout the entire ceremony. Um, and I just I was really moved um, by those concepts, and as well I'd like to just talk about how creativity can move us into thinking about things in a whole new way. How have you guys experienced that in your lives? Jared?
So, at my program, we occasionally have fall into language barriers that aren't just Spanish. Sometimes we'll have people, who speak Portuguese, right, and all the different subdialects, right, of South America, like in here, because like we're one of the only programs that really do the full child reunification process in house, right, where even if CPS is involved, you can still take care of your child while CPS is monitoring, while because we're getting 24/7 supervision while doing recovery, at the same time. But there's sometimes when there's language barriers, and sometimes there's even speaking barriers, right? So like a lot of what we've done, like at first, we'd be hiring interpreters, right? And that got a little bit hard and more difficult because like you have to book them basically for every time slot that they have a flight to go to, right? And that's hard, right? That's hard. We have the barrier buster funds, but it's still difficult because sometimes there are multiple clients that go to multiple different classes, so you need multiple different interpreters, right, for each and every thing. Because you can't just group everybody, because they don't all need the same thing. Some people have experienced human trafficking, need trafficking classes. Some people have experienced domestic violence, need domestic violence classes. Can't just throw everybody together. So, in a way, like our program, I know we found a lot of creative solutions for it. Like whenever like we found cheaper options like scribe pens, where that just like literally automatically, they're like pens that work to your headphones, that link to your headphones, where if there's text, right, and you can't read it, right, you literally just do the highlighting motion on the text, right, and then you can hear it, so if we're doing like psychoeducational class, right, that is curriculum led, right, where then you just give them the curriculum, they just read the thing, and then they understand what's going on, right. And then you can deal with like the translation part, a little bit secondary through like Google and stuff, just through communication barriers and stuff. But it's been phenomenal to watch. So like language barriers and even ability barriers be tackled by our program. Just with a little bit of creativity, and so like and you'd be surprised by how cheap those pens were. I was like, does that say $25? $25 life-saving technology is crazy.
Seriously, that's awesome.
So, like it's not, people think, oh, the disability community, oh, it's so hot, we don't have the money to do that. But it's a lot more accessible, but than you think, right? So I've just been inspired by my community and how we handle those things.
The other thing that I've been pretty impressed with on the Paralympics is that I don't hear people just saying, just push through, just push through. No, it's all about inclusion and just with the Paralympics, I mean, it's just as competitive as, if not more, the Olympics, but it's really just getting to where you can compare apples to apples, you know, and how they score and how they, the categories that they put people together in. So I wonder how we could do that more in in our daily lives. Just one of the things that drives me the most crazy is that we haven't um is that builders don't like with new building and things like that that people don't pay attention to accessibility, even with corporate building projects. I'm just floored by the lack of thought that goes into things. My folks when they first moved into this retirement community in Lubbock, they uh you know I, my dad considered they really wanted to be in a house. There were several options, like houses, apartments, um um in two different buildings, and they really wanted to have a separate house, and they almost decided against it, and I kind of wish they had. If I'd have known they weren't gonna, that dad wasn't gonna live that much longer, that they like they had these big old steps in front of the houses with I mean, just huge steps that you
Mhm.
really couldn't negotiate any other way. But then they had these sidewalks that would go between the houses that had no steps. So it was clearly possible to do it without steps. And I heard someone say something like, well, we didn't want it to look like um you know like we didn't have this um fit, able-bodied community. And I was just like, are you serious for a retirement community? Oh my gosh, that just kind of flew all over me. So I think, to me, attitude is everything. Where
Mhm.
else have you seen um barriers in the community?
Well, I can, this is not barriers, but when I first went to college, which was 1975, that kind of ages me, but they had wheelchair basketball. And so we got the experience of knowing how to get in a wheelchair and play basketball. And I guess they did away with that after the first year that I was there, which was unfortunate because it got you into actually experiencing someone in a wheelchair trying to do a sport. And I just thought that
Oh,
was
you
great.
mean that they had like, I mean, I
Teams.
thought you were talking about like a whole wheelchair team.
Yeah, we would come and they would open it up, and if 10 5 on 5, and we would get in a wheelchair and we would have basketball games.
Were there people who actually depended on a wheelchair?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, there certainly are wheelchair teams. We we were practicing for something. Marco was practicing for some kind of sports, or he was at a sports camp when at the same place where right after he finished, the Albuquerque Kings, which is a wheelchair team, a professional wheelchair basketball team, came and practiced, and so we got to watch that. Man, that it's a little more.
It's
Uh,
tough. It's rough.
Yeah, it's definitely rougher. People were just flying out of their chairs
Mhm.
and getting back on, and everything. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty impressive. So that was really fun to see that. And even I heard that, like, even for like the national games for wheelchair sports, um, uh, I I I've heard that no matter that, like, hundreds of phone calls and everything to try to get prepared to have everything ready, and still the airlines, just like they have like one person, um just like they might for having one person in a wheelchair, they have this entire team on the airlines, and they don't have anybody there to help them make connections or get their own wheelchairs up to the gate or anything like that. So I mean, that's really a
Bad,
shame.
bad.
Suzette.
So I have a client that I'm working with, and they have a mobile grooming service for animals, for dogs. And she's like thinking outside the box on, how to compete with other businesses, and she does like holistic um care for animals where they go to people who maybe have post-operative issues with their animals or carefully animals with special needs, that kind of thing. But I was thinking out loud with her, and I was like, you should go park in front of a senior living facility because those people have, some facilities let you have pets. And I thought, a lot of those people, they can't get their pet to the groomer. So why not like plan days where you're at a senior living facility and everyone, you can either go get the dogs and bring them to the groomings, you know what I mean? Like, so there's so many common things in the world that we forget about that we take for granted, and I think pets are a huge part of companionship and love and they're like family. So anyway, I thought that was a really neat idea. But, I was just it just struck a chord with me that, to think of an older person. And I've thought about it myself. Like, yeah, when in my 80s, who's gonna feed these dang goats? They knock me over every time I go out there. So, it's going to have to be planned out, with some kind of plan. But anyway, I didn't mean to go off track. It's just thinking about things that we take for granted that other people don't have access to because they can't get to it or whatever like that.
Yes, and um if universal design was even just a consideration before you built a house or something, then or a a business, then how much would that save? I mean, yeah, it just um I was I know a lot of people are just like, why should I build it this way if I don't have anybody in my family that needs it? And well, there's lots of reasons. For one thing, disability is the one marginalized category that anybody can fall into at any time.
Mhm.
Um, and for another thing, how about expanding your circle of friends? The people that you invite over. Um, One of the things that I was struck by, George was talking about 1975, and I think the ADA guidelines had not even been passed at that point. Um, yeah, 1990, July 26th, 1990 is when the
Wow.
ADA was signed into law. I
Wow.
went to seminary with a girl who was one of the ones that climbed up the Capitol steps in in that in that protest that finally pushed it into getting it on. And I didn't realize, I thought, I mean, I think having a son that uses a wheelchair, I think I'm more cognizant than most people when it comes to noticing how you can get a wheelchair in and how you can't. But there was a whole lot of things that she pointed out that I never would have noticed. Kreger?
I think AI is really going to be exciting for persons with disabilities with the technology that's coming on. I'm with T-Mobile, and they already invited me to like beta test instant translation in terms of language. So that is coming very soon. But just looking at there's advances with vision impairment assistance technologies, mobility impairments, intelligent prosthetics and exoskeletons and stuff. And I think the people with the disability community has the potential to benefit greatly with AI technologies that are just starting to trickle online now, but I think there's more to come. And then, perhaps it'll make life a little bit better for these communities.
Carol left for a minute, so go ahead, Suzette.
So, last Friday, I took my mom to the Museum of Fine Arts to see some exhibits, and one of them looked really interesting. It was an exhibit that you was interactive, like immersive, like you walk through it, from what I understood. And on the ticket, it doesn't say anything about, ability to do it. But when we got to the exhibit, it was literally hanging ropes with this. It was like a jungle gym, like that you had to make your way through. And there was no way my 85-year-old mom could, walk through that. And even at the desk where we bought the tickets, they didn't say a word to us. And I mean, they saw her, they didn't say, this is a physical thing where you're gonna have to, really get physical. I might have been able to do it, but I would, it didn't, it wasn't clear. They didn't talk about disability. They didn't talk about, the ability that you needed to participate. So I was disappointed with that. That was like half of what we were going to see. And then, yeah, it was unexpected, especially for something that's a very public
Mhm.
facility like that. Why would they have an exhibition where you definitely had to be physically fit to go through it? So anyway, that was an
So
interesting.
did you
They're still
complain? Did you write a
no, they should definitely have said something. I mean, if that was the only thing I was going down there to see, I would have been really upset.
yeah.
But we went and saw the Frida Kahlo exhibit and then went to that, and it was beautiful. It was hanging from the ceiling, but
Mhm.
it was definitely something you had to climb through like a jungle gym. So anyway, I was
That
just
was
talking about the Museum of Fine Arts, Carol. They had an exhibit that was
Oh,
interactive, but you had to literally climb through it. It was not like you could easily walk through it like you were walking through something. But I just thought a public place like that would have more accommodations, or at least tell people ahead of time so they didn't make that one plan and not be able to enjoy it.
yeah, I think it definitely helps when people speak up and make a
Mhm.
difference
You
because it's just it's not a guarantee anywhere. No matter what the law says, the law has not made that much of a difference. And just this year, some of the laws were changed, like
Maybe I should
travel
complain.
laws, like the airlines are not responsible for breaking a wheelchair anymore.
Oh,
And that just happened a couple of months ago.
Hmm.
It's it's
Yeah, we
ridiculous.
brought Christy's scooter onto a plane and they broke it.
Did they pay for it?
First time out. Hmm.
oh
They pay
no.
Yeah,
for
we
it?
had to get in line and make a claim and let them send a tech out to fix it, and they did it, but somebody that wasn't like maybe an older person wouldn't have known how to do all that or where to go or how to do
Hmm.
it or physically even get to that claim desk. It's just the world's not set up for
Oh, it's tough.
people.
I mean, you go to airports and you're supposed to get a wheelchair and there's nobody there. I mean, we have set hours for waiting for a wheelchair, and finally, I just seen somebody pass and I said, "Can we go with you?" I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, not okay.
Gregor?
Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
So, are there any countries that people are aware of that are doing a better job at all of this than the United States, or is this a global problem?
Um, I you know, there. I have seen posts on some travel blogs that I follow, um, that, but I don't know. I mean, of course, bloggers are going to get the more expensive hotels and everything like that, but of course, they had to do all their research to and their trial and error to get there, and still some of them come up with some really hard times. I know that we went to a general conference one time in we've been we've been to three in Canada, and the most recent one in Victoria, that was that was not accessible, but the one in Calgary, there was a lot of things that I noticed about accessibility, that seemed a whole lot easier than some of the conference places that we've been to in the US. But I don't have any specific knowledge of countries that do it better, but I would guess that Canada might be on the top of the list. Jared?
Let me ask my machine.
Yeah. And I have also been, like aware of this too. So like Canada is on the list. It is. So is Sweden, right? Sweden's actually the highest for transportation specifically. Accessible transportation, right? Like ramps and elevators, right? That are, big enough to fit your all your
Mhm.
chairs, your everything. Because, a lot of the elevators and the ramps might not, they're just for people, right? They're just for
Mhm.
oh, you don't got a walker? That sucks, right? And the Spain's like running in like the third, and but I think there's like conflict. Like I think with Spain there's it's less about like they have certain accessibilities, right? Like they'll do like the physical accessibility stuff, but they have a low rating for like any sort of neurodivergent accessibility stuff, right? And so it's hard, right? Like, and then at that point, everybody else just kind of has the same thing at skewing thing where we're really like Japan's really good at like technology based stuff, but they don't really and space and creating spaces whenever they're designing for it, but they're still the neurodivergent stuff they struggle with, right? The UK as well, same thing. They have a whoa, UK is like wild ranges and stuff. And so like that's always the hardest part. Like a lot, like like I always see it. Like a lot of the stuff that is built, like we say it's an accessible environment, right? But it's like we just say, okay, this is built for clearly for blind people, right? And then you don't have the same ideologies thinking for the deaf people, deaf community, or the mute community, or just even wheelchair community. We just say it's accessible because I guess we have closed captions, right? Right? Like yes, we have a sign language interpreter, right? And then but we don't have a ramp to get on stage. And so like that's a thing that happens where we don't always have consistent accessibility across all boards, that I've seen. That has always been a struggle for the community because the community, they're not at war with each other. The accessibility community is really in community with one another, but like they're often fighting for just for getting their specific disability recognized in a space that they would want to be recognized at, right? Like, yeah, I'm sure someone who is not like highly mobile could do the climbing exhibit, right? And that like they might even put like really good guides on all the things, so that's maybe even someone who had sight loss could navigate it. But you throw a wheelchair in the mix and then they struggle, they struggle. So it's really hard. I see across the world it's not consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right. And sometimes it just takes just some thinking about it. It just takes some pre-planning. And I just it floors me. So I think the biggest part of accessibility has to do just with attitude. It's just being welcoming, be trying to be more inclusive. Um, are you guys aware that Ricky Harris moved back to Amarillo?
Yeah,
No.
Yeah.
you lost
Yeah.
it.
So he did a post. He was looking for a church that would commit to sign language. So I'm going to try to be in communication. What I did when I was with um, the um, I'm sorry, I um, sorry, lost my train of thought there for a second. um, when I was in Amarillo with MCC, I was able to do a sign language program where we had just kind of people who were at different stages of learning ASL, who would interpret every church service, even when we had no deaf person in attendance. Um, and um, and then once we really had that in place, we never even got a deaf person to come, so our program did not forward. But the church that I'm going to recommend for Ricky um, is is a church that tried that something similar, and I don't think that um, they may need somebody that's a little more that's like certified to interpret to get in there and be good enough. But I think Resurrection has done such a good job, and I'm sure Ricky was quite instrumental in making sure that we had the sign language program the way that it needed to be. And I sincerely hope that it doesn't fall off now that he's gone. I mean, we've already seen some of our sermons and ministry moments that were that were not um, that is. I'm thinking specifically of a sermon where the people involved actually said, "Oh, we just thought closed captioning would be good enough." And that's that's just a sad example. Jared and Leo.
Just like you said, the attitude, and I think, well, the community too makes a difference. And I speak on behalf of my aunt because she has Down syndrome. She's able to communicate, but sometimes she struggles. But my aunts and my grandma, uh, they made it they made it their priority to uh, talk to the business owners because they live in a small town in Guerrero, but they go to almost the same businesses all the time, and they talk to all the business owners and just to get to know my aunt and the way that she communicates and the way that she says certain things, so that in the future they would be able to send my aunt to go buy whatever. I have a video of us going with her to go buy tortillas, and she's leading the way, right? And we're encouraging her, and she's having a great time. And then she gets to the tortilleria, and she orders a kilo of tortillas all by herself. We stepped to the side and let her order it, and the lady already knew her by name, and yeah, she ordered it, and it was like nothing. Mm-hmm. So it's like that made me feel good that that she could go to any business and get what she needs. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful, and that I thought you were going to say something along the lines. We had a young man with Down syndrome who came to the church in Amarillo for a long time, and he was nonverbal, just because of the way his tongue was and everything. He couldn't speak, and I mean, I'm sure there were some other issues too, but whatever. Anyway, he so he and his family communicated using ASL, um, and um, and so that was just another reason that I mean that program benefits more than people who are deaf.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are great examples. Um, have any of y'all? I've been thinking I need to take a I need to bone up on my sign language, just so that our any of our groups, anything that I'm involved with could be more accessible. Um, and just I didn't realize how rusty I'd gotten until our collective liberation retreat when my partner when I was partnered with somebody who preferred sign language. And um anyway, and I got all nervous and didn't communicate the way I could have. So I'd like to bone up on it just to be more accessible myself. I know Kreger's learned Spanish, and has anybody considered learning sign language?
Christy
Mi esposo
started.
Pablo habla en ASL a veces en la iglesia, uprising, pero me no. Paul is a language master, and so he's speaks four tongue languages and now has dabbled with ASL just by watching the signs on his iPhone, and it comes natural for him. But there was a time when he was sitting in the row with our deaf congregants and you know helping with all of that. So, but I
Nice.
know Z was giving lessons for a while on Wednesday nights at RMCC. I don't know if that still happens, but
No, I don't think so. But yeah, that's good. And there are more programs, just like there's like Duolingo, there's this very similar program for sign language as well. But it helps to have somebody to practice with in real time. George?
Yeah, I was just going to say that Z and Ricky ran two classes, maybe it was three classes, and in person. And, it was just difficult for me to come there and take it because I had so much other stuff to do. And I'm just wondering, surely that you can do Zoom classes. I mean, I'm the type that's not going to go do something on my own and go on Google and watch the class. Unfortunately, I'm kind of lazy that way. But if I had several other people in the class, so I would think you could do it on Zoom. I might ask Z if he would be interested in doing that. Maybe doing a Zoom class.
That's an interesting idea. I don't know. Z's Z's got a lot on him right now, I think,
Yeah.
but that's a great idea. Um, and MCC Amarillo used to have a signed choir.
Ooh.
Now, isn't that a fun, creative idea? Well, I did um, I led like 4 different years. We did Jesus Christ Superstar in sign language at at MCC Amarillo. Did I say Amarillo a minute ago? I meant Lubbock. MCC Lubbock had a
Oh,
sign.
okay.
Yeah, it was led by Marge Washington, who was also
I
uh,
remember her.
remember her? She's
Hmm.
a professional clown.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Yeah,
seen her at um, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I remember March.
So that's another creative idea of how to make things more accessible.
Hmm.
And I just think I just think we shouldn't wait until somebody comes in a wheelchair, or somebody comes in who's
Sorry.
we I took another class in seminary about just making um especially for like children with sensory issues, and people who are nonverbal, who just including them in the worship experience. Um, I I have mixed feelings about taking children out of church during church service, and but um, we just came up with some very creative ideas in this class about how like and just think about it, how if you in um if the worship team comes together. Notice I said team. Isn't that interesting? It takes a whole group of people to plan a worship like that. But if the whole worship team would come together and try to think, okay, how this is our this is our theme for today. We're talking about, say, oh, let's just say God is love. That's our theme for the service. That's what all our songs are about. How can we communicate this in a way for that's more than verbal? How can we communicate this? And just think about how that would affect all the just the entire congregation, and how profoundly that would affect the worship team. Just to go that deep into thinking, how do you get across a message like that with art and movement and everything like that? How do you what are different ways you could do that? Wouldn't that be a really cool experience? So anyway, we're not quite to the end, but uh, are there are there any other ideas that you have seen in terms of accessibility that you find profound?
I don't know. I think I need to get the How to Be an Anti-Racist book equivalent on how, how I can educate myself on, you know, um, these communities that we're speaking about tonight. Because I think when I hear Jesus talking about the least of these are truly the people that the people that almost always get left out and left behind, you know? So what
Yes,
can I
and just
read? What can I
noticing,
listen?
talking about this. Yes, I don't know that there's a how-to book about it, but well, I mean, there are groups. There's there's now, what does now stand for? The National Organization
Of women.
of for worship.
Oh,
Uh,
and I did watch the Middle Church, but you see, and I was thinking about this as you were talking. I did watch the Middle Church this past Sunday, and I wasn't I didn't even think of it from that perspective. Did I observe people with disabilities in that worship service being treated as gorgeously as everyone that I've been chatting with? It says Middle Church is like, pretty much the echelon of what a church should be like. But I didn't even notice, and I didn't even look. And that's where I'm going,
I have
I got to
noticed.
change my brain about
Yeah,
stuff like that. You
exactly.
see what I'm saying? Like
Beautiful.
it looked to me like some
Beautifully
of
brought.
this.
I love the way you brought that up, Gregor. And I have noticed. I noticed they did. I did not see sign language available at Middle Church, and I did not see any accessibility to the main platform
Yeah,
where.
it looked to me like some of the seats would just be completely inaccessible for even someone with a boot on, let alone a scooter or a wheelchair.
Right. Right. So yeah, if we start the more of us that start noticing that in all of the spaces that we go into, then the more likely we are to be able to change that and become more inclusive. Because, the people who's not at the table, because they can't speak for themselves because if they can't get in the door. you know. Okay, Jared and Leo.
Yes. So there are books actually like that. Like there's the Anti-Ableist Manifesto. Like yeah. But but I think the easiest way, is to have dialogue with those people, with the people. Like we do have people with ranging, abilities, right, within Resurrection Metropolitan Community Church, right? We have done a good job of getting dialogue with the, hard of hearing community because they fought power, actually. It was against power's consent. They had to fight against bastards, and really, 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 really hammer that in, right? But we also have autistic communities who are being discriminated against within our church as well. Like there's a policing, right? There's a policing that happens, right? Because we don't, and it's social, it's subtle, it's based solely on things that don't pertain to like the spirit, right? And so we have to change our thinking when we see people quote unquote being distracting, right? Maybe bringing a a disability dog, right? Have dialogue with them. Think, hey, like how can we make this service better with you in mind, right? How can we improve this with you in mind, right? There are people with, who are wheelchair bound within our church, right? And I've never seen them enter our stage, right? But can they, right? We don't really have ramps on our stage.
I've been
We have
told there are
elevator.
ramps on the side.
Yeah, but like we never get to see, or we never get to advertise, or we never get to show or demonstrate these services for these people, so they don't actually know, right? Like it's a difficult thing to see whenever these things are like out of the way and stuff, right? Because but until you mentioned that, I've only actually seen that because I go to the board meetings, right?
Hasn't there been like
You
like
go,
in the choir? Haven't we seen people using walkers
Yeah. Laura came up with her wheelchair and was
yeah,
in
but
the choir.
it's not advertised, right? Like you go in through the front, through the other side, you don't ever see that elevator, right? And it's really, it's a shame because that's something that we do, right? That's something that we do for the community, right? And we should, we should
Yeah,
have,
and I hope we pay attention to it if we
yeah.
move to a new building.
But also like we could that's something that's already in the building that we do, that we don't highlight, so they don't know that it's there because they don't go to board meetings. So
Well, before y'all started, there was a huge accessibility campaign, and to make the like the other buildings more accessible to and yeah. So I mean, again, it comes down to attitude a lot.
yeah. And so just talking to the community is so essential, right? It is so essential because, the lack of visibility for these things, right? The lack of visibility for the needs, the onus is not, on like just me and you and the other people. The onus is actually in the administration to, ask how can you improve the product, right?
I
Like
think it takes, yeah, it takes all of us.
yeah.
Yeah. And
It's just
Denise Junius had a real, I complimented Troy Tresh on how the church was on the accessibility campaign, and he said, "Oh no, this is all Denise." Denise really pushed to make the church more and more and more inclusive in every way possible. So
I
yeah,
think
it helps to have somebody in leadership, but look at what they did on the Paralympics. Those, I mean, I'm sure that the people that they hired, but I mean, they all worked. Clearly was a huge group community effort to send that all-inclusive message out. So I think we all have a part that we can play in that. And so thank you for dedicating this hour to that. This was beautiful. And if you have a chance, I really encourage you to watch all of those opening ceremonies. I I I trust you will be as moved as I was, and that will bring some joy to your heart, which we all clearly need at this point in our in what's going on in the world. And speaking of that, Kreger, you weren't feeling like doing the prayer last week. How are you feeling this week?
I'm okay this week. I'm always going to be in recovery. Some weeks are better than others, you know? Holy God, we are grateful for this episode of God Talk this evening, where it really gave us a chance to spend some time with, as I said during this meeting, one of these communities that truly feels like the least of these, always left out, always left behind. And maybe because we're talking about them and trying to figure out ways that we can help, that we can make it better, maybe other people will help us and join us in that conversation. So we're glad for this time and this space to bring it up. And wouldn't it be nice if, 5 or 600,000 people saw this God Talk at some point and get them to start thinking. So we leave that with you. You know all things. You're all powerful. In the meantime, we're grateful for the conversation. And I guess as always, I would pray that we leave here this evening and we just ask for your guidance to help us do the next best thing on any number of subjects, areas, topics, and what have you that we're all working on in our lives. And so help us to do that. And also, we just ask for some peace. It's rough times these days, emotionally, mentally, sometimes even physically. And we just ask for your grace and your peace and to help us get through and to stop 2 or 3 times, 5, 6 times a day, take a deep breath and just pull you into our lives. We just become aware that you are with us and that you are in us. In Christ's holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Great.
Love you guys so much.
Yay.
Check on me
You guys-
later, Carol.
Bye.